Hey everybody, it's Jackson, Cafe Rica, and today with Drinks with Los Hermanos, we had on the brew crew from Territorial Brewing Company. We had Charles, Tim, Dan, and Trevor, and we got to talk to them about how they started, a little thing that they called Frankenbrew, which is the process that they got started with. We got to taste a brand new beer that they're coming out with. It's called the Penetrator. It's a Doppelbock. It's delicious, and we just got to talking about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and their business. So hope you guys enjoy. Take it easy.
What's going on, everybody? We are here at Territorial Brewing Company with the crew. We got Charles, Trevor, Dan, and of course, Tim. They're gonna talk to you a little bit about their journey and how they became who they are today. So go ahead, Jack.
All right. I guess our first question is, what got all of you guys into brewing, and what made you guys want to just take it from maybe a hobby and into a business?
Brewing for me started home brewing about 14 years ago, and part of it for me at first was just exploring how to make beer, and then I got really into trying to brew beers that I couldn't necessarily find good examples of on a store shelf, and that's how I started brewing the styles of beer that we kind of focus on. We do about 60% lagers, like European continental lager styles. We do our own take on them, but that started also in the home brewing and making beer. And then I got Charles to start coming up. I was living in Otsego at the time. I started getting Charles to come up and brew with me in my garage, and we started brewing far more beer than we could drink, and it was getting hard to give it away because we were brewing so frequently. So we started putting on a huge summer homebrew party. I started in my backyard, and then on the third year, we had to move to another location or the fourth year we had to move to another location because we had run out of space.
So what year was this again?
Would have been 2012, 2013.
I think we started, the first one was before that.
Yeah, I think the last one was 2012 or 2013.
Yeah, I think it was 2008 or 2009.
Yeah,
was when we started the party.
Parties?
yeah.
The extra, well, it was always the Vans month. It always changed names every year, and we had a lot of fun with that. We got to go bounce house and cotton candy and give away ridiculous door prizes.
Yeah.
Charles was still driving a truck and driving all over the country at the time, so he'd come back with somebody would get a coupon for a free coffee at some truck stop in North Dakota.
Yeah. Yeah. By the last one, we had, I don't know, 300 people maybe over the course of the day.
I think the last year was over almost 400 people.
Yeah, and we had like barbecue catered in. It was quite a party. So, and enough people told us that they would actually pay money for this beer. So
That's always fun.
yeah.
And then the real decision to go pro was getting connected with our mentor Tom Hennessy in Colorado, who's just started, I think, opened his ninth brewery, his eighth or ninth brewery. No, ninth. He's got a new packaging brewery, and
Which, having opened one brewery, I can't imagine trying to do it 9 times.
Yeah. And he was the one who basically said, you can do this. You could actually open a brewery and gave us, and you can do it without spending a fortune on
Right.
it. So a lot of breweries you see start up, they're spending sometimes multiple millions of dollars to start out, and ours was nothing like that.
Yeah, Tom Hennessy is the pioneer, the creator of Frankenbrew, which is essentially what he taught us, how to start a brewery for significantly cheaper than a lot of people do. And he showed us every step of the way how to do it. He's got some hilarious old videos on YouTube you can see. If you look up Frankenbrew. It's sort of a movement.
It started because he made a VHS tape
back in the 90s.
called Frankenbrew,
Right.
And he was obsessed with like Sierra Nevada and how they started, because they started very Frankenbrew. So Frankenbrew basically is using equipment that wasn't necessarily designed for brewing, or originally designed for a different aspect of brewing,
right,
and converting it, doing what you need. So like our brew house, we use a lot of dairy equipment. A lot of wine equipment.
Yeah, in fact, I don't know.
The
these
tall
fermenters are probably
actually Croatian-made white wine fermenters.
Yeah, but we make beer with them. So
It's a little similar to what we do. Like with our cold brew, I mean, even now we still do it in like big plastic brew buckets, like beer brew buckets. That's how we do it, just because they're 7 gallons, so we can do 5 at a time.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty cool way because like you said, I mean, you see all these guys that have multi-million-dollar breweries, and
Yeah.
they're that far in the hole already, and so it's kind of hard to crawl out of that.
And
Right, exactly.
that's one of my favorite things that Tom Hennessy told us was, when you first learned to drive, did you get handed the keys to a brand new Mercedes? Like a lot of people do,
Right.
but I was not. I got an '82 Chevy Cavalier, and that was in like 1996. So I got an '82 Chevy Cavalier, and so yeah, you don't get handed you get a hand-me-down car, and you do learn to do the best you can with it, and you work hard, and maybe someday you end up driving a nice new car.
Yeah.
I like that. Before we get too far, of course, we're on Drinks of Los Hermanos. What are we drinking right now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're drinking very early Penetrator Doppelbock. So Penetrator named after the road in Battle Creek that's not officially called that in any way.
Right.
But
But everybody here knows what's penetrator.
Right.
Yeah. So this is so Doppelbocks. They originated at the, I can't remember the actual name of the monastery, but where Paul Anner Brewery is now, and it was a beer they brewed to try and preserve their grain going through winter, and it sustained the monks through really harsh times, and they ended up naming it
Salvatore.
Salvatore, and naming it after Jesus Christ, because this beer saved them. It was their salvation, and so that monastery, they would end up doing a fast for Lent and only drinking Doppelbock, not eating any food, and now to this day, a lot of Doppelbocks are traditionally given a name ending in ATOR, which is really just an homage to the original. A respectful tip of the hat to the monks who originally made it. So ours, we're in the Battle Creek area. Penetrator just seemed like a really good name.
What else are we going to name it?
Right.
The original Paul Anner Salvatore is still made. You could get it at finer beer stores, and it is a very good beer. So, yeah. But this is the first time anybody has really drunk this stuff, and it's not even actually out for the public yet. But
yeah, this is still finished. It's still
Thank you.
some Zwickel beer.
It's very good.
Thank you.
I think everybody will enjoy it when they get
Some
a chance.
perks.
Some
Yeah.
perks.
Yeah, this one will be out next week for everybody.
Yep.
People always ask why we don't make that beer year round, and it's mainly because it takes so long to
Yeah.
make.
Takes up to 3 months for us to brew this one.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'd never thought about that one about beer. I always thought it was like a quicker turnaround than months at a time.
Yeah.
This one's our longest beer.
Yeah.
It's a big beer, and it's a lager, so we ferment it colder. It takes longer to ferment, and then we have to lager it, and we never have enough. We always want to be able to lager it for like another month or two.
Yeah.
But it ties up we only have 5 fermenters, and it ties up a fermenter for a few months.
Yeah. There are breweries out there making primarily ales that could get a beer from brew day into the keg in like a week, but that's not what we do here. So,
Right.
yeah.
So how about you two? How did you guys get into brewing beer?
I started off as just a home brewer in college, and kind of just did it on the side, and then just kind of experimenting. Like Tim was always about like traditional styles. I did more experimental takes that, I mean, a lot of times they didn't turn out too well. But for the most part, like I got to know how to brew professionally just by working here. So yeah.
Did you just come in like as a regular worker, like a server,
Well,
bartender? Or?
I worked with the old head brewer of Territorial. I worked with his wife at a bank, and she said, "Hey, my husband brews beer, and I heard you brew beer. You guys should get together and drink beer together." So I ended up doing that, and then I was working at a bank while I was working third shift here. I did that for like 4 or 5 months, something like that.
Too long. Yeah.
And then, so yeah, it's because when we weren't at this building, we were brewing beer down at the kitchen, the same building that we have our kitchen in right now. And to stay out of the way of the kitchen, we'd brew from 10 o'clock at night till 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd have to go to work at the bank at 10 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. So thank God I didn't have to do it every single night, but for the most part, it was just, it was a lot of work. But eventually my brain and body just said, you should just do this full time and not have to do so. But yeah, so kind of just slowly worked my way into commercial brewing, and then here we are now.
Yeah.
So.
And Trevor?
I started out drinking a lot of beer. That was kind of pretty much. I wasn't a home brewer per se, as these guys were to start off with. I did make a couple batches at home. They were terrible. They were really, really bad. I'm surprised I got a job at all anywhere. But I, living in Kalamazoo since 2000, what we do is we drink craft beer and do disc golf. So it was just, I never really liked the stuff that we had to drink in college or in high school, the Busch Lights and the light beers. I always had more of a European taste, so I drank a lot of beer. And then I was going to go into beer sales. Was initially was the goal. And my previous employer, Tibbs in Kalamazoo, I asked him. I said, "Hey, can I just come in and just clean kegs, a couple hours a week, just so I can get on a resume, so I can get a job somewhere." And then I never left. I ended up working there for about 4 years. I was the assistant brewer before coming over here and hoped to grow with them. So mine just came from drinking a lot of beer and then wanting to know how we got to said beer and then just working through the process. And I fell in love with just the process of it, the outlet for creativity and ingenuity. It's fun, and if you're not having fun in this business, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
I would say so.
It's kind of just followed your passion and wiggled your
My
way.
passion found me, apparently. I don't know. Yeah, just through a couple six packs, I was like, I like this stuff. I want to make this too. But these guys are so smart. So to be able to learn here with all the experience that they come with, it's
Pretty darn
definitely-
smart
definitely
yourself.
a treat.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
So I guess piggybacking off that, what is your guys' favorite part about brewing beer? I mean, is it hanging out with your friends? Is it
Besides
besides
drinking?
yeah, besides the drinking.
It's obviously the best part.
Yeah, camaraderie is a huge part of it. I think my favorite part is standing down at the end of the bar in the tap room and watching customers enjoy it. I also enjoy watching customers who don't enjoy it because we don't make beer. Nobody's gonna love. You're never gonna please everybody.
Yeah.
And you can sometimes get really great feedback from somebody who just really doesn't like a beer, even if it's just because it's a beer they don't particularly enjoy. But my favorite part is sharing the beer. That's my favorite.
Mine's definitely learning more about the different processes, and that's one of the nice things, like what Tim said about the Lamborghini. What did you say, Lamborghini or?
I said Mercedes, but
Mercedes.
you're going a little higher.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But it's just like learning new ways of improving processes and stuff like that. And the science behind it all really is really intriguing to me.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think we get into this business because we love learning and we love educating. My favorite thing is educating the consumer. I have a degree in secondary education, so for me, it's to get information and pass it on to as many people as I can. So this is just a fun experience for me because when I learn something, then everyone else gets to learn too because I will just tell everyone about it. So
Yeah, Trevor works for was it Kalamazoo Beer Tours?
West Michigan Beer
West Michigan
Tours.
Beer Tours.
West Michigan
Yeah.
Beer Tours. Yeah.
So when he's not here on the weekdays and the weekends, he's giving out beer tours. So
Beer tours like in just Southwest Michigan.
Southwest Michigan, yeah, we do. We service the whole Southwest Michigan area. We do a couple tours that have taken us to the east side as well, but we primarily stay around here. There's a lot of breweries over here, so we don't really have to travel far to find a good watering hole.
I guess I could piggyback off what Tim said. I like when we make a convert, especially to craft beer, because we've got a couple guys I can think of in my head that are in our mug club and they're loyal regulars that didn't really drink craft beer at all. And they just stumbled into our place, and one of them said he walked in and asked for a Bud Light or something. And he was brave enough to stay after we said, well, we don't have that, but try this. And he's really fallen in love with our beer and with other craft beer too. And I love seeing that happen. There's still plenty of people that don't really appreciate craft beer yet, but any that we can help out, it's great. So.
And another thing that's also just awesome about making beer, it's probably something that you guys can relate to, is being able to scientifically approach an art. And so we get an expressive outlet too by crafting new beers, and but also being able to like approach it through a way that you're constantly learning and challenging yourself is really fun.
One thing I noticed too in the beer industry is its community, really, and Territorial is great for this as well, is just getting active with the community any way we possibly can. And for us, it's a pretty cool way, you know. I mean, we just got to make beer. That's kind of a fun thing to do, but just to be able to connect with the community, you know, probably been doing for a long time.
Speaking of community, I know the beer industry is now kind of more closely knit. With 2 new breweries coming to Battle Creek, how do you guys feel like that's competition? Or you guys embrace it and like kind of build that community?
I'm super amped.
Yeah.
We need more breweries. We lost Arcadia, left Battle Creek shortly after we opened, and it hurts us. The more breweries here creates more of a destination, more of a reason for people to come in. We're far enough away from downtown that we're not really competing on a neighborhood level, because really the style of brewery that we do is a neighborhood brew pub, basically. So 90% of our regular customers are people who live or work within like 1 or 2 miles of the tap room. And so to have more come in. The one thing I've always loved about the beer industry is that the spirit of contribution and collaboration is far more important than competition. And not that there isn't competition, but the competition can also be great too, and have a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Battle Creek needs more good beer, not less, and more locally made beer, and that can't be a bad thing.
A lot of people don't know about the camaraderie we have with other breweries. I mean, Dark Horse has helped us out a tremendous amount. With Albion Malleable in Albion, we wash their kegs for them, and like we've helped them quite a bit in getting started, and they've helped us a lot. So there's quite a bit of collaboration in having closer breweries to where we're at right now.
We've always said that we will do everything we legally can to help anybody that wants to open up. Even if you want to open up right next door to us, like we will do everything we can.
That's the thing is with the craft beer resurgence, it really came about just giving options, allowing the consumer to have more options, and I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, two more breweries gives the consumer more options. It makes us a destination, as you said. And it is a cereal city. We're just repurposing, cereal.
Repurposing the grain.
I mean, that kind of goes in line with us. We've had a ton of people asking us about, is 32 Social is going to be open up right down by you guys and Big B, and what do you guys think about that? And I'm just like, hey, more coffee, more people want to be downtown. Like for us, it's one of our big things is we want more people downtown. Always, not just during the work week.
And it's not even, doesn't have to even just be the same, it doesn't have to be another brewery. When we'd been open, I don't know, about 1.5 years when JB's Whiskey Creek opened up on Dickman, and I mean that's a couple miles away, but on Dickman, relatively close. It's like the closest place we have to us here, and they opened up, and people were like, "Oh, how's that gonna go? You got competition?" And like, well, yeah, we're competition, but we're not at the same time. And so we saw JB's open up, and for a couple of weeks, we saw a little bit of a downtick in our customer census, and then all of a sudden we're seeing we're growing faster than what our projections were, just by having another destination to bring people out to Springfield. And so it doesn't have to be just a brewery. Just having another hospitality establishment nearby can be a huge boost.
So, you guys have been in the craft beer industry for a while. Have you guys seen anything change since you've been in it? And is that surprising or like par for the course?
A lot of it's the biggest thing that we're seeing right now is we're starting to see some of the mid-sized breweries start to suffer a little bit because, and this is something that people have been projecting for a while, is that when one place where the brewing industry is extremely competitive and it's very cutthroat is on store shelves. and in distribution. So when you start looking at the tap handles at your bar that you go to, and the bottles on the shelf at Myers,
Yeah.
and so it's something where more and more breweries are getting into that market, and it's becoming more and more crowded. A lot of the middle breweries who are growing really fast are starting to kind of overextend themselves and suffer. So I don't think it's necessarily like a bubble burst like what happened with the craft beer industry in the in the 90s,
Yeah.
late 90s, and but it's scary times. Like it's not scary for a tiny brewery like us with a neighborhood focus, because there's no oversaturation until every neighborhood
Right.
that can support a pub has a pub.
Yeah.
And for the huge breweries like Bell's and Founders, like it's not nearly
They're already
as
established.
scary.
Yeah, they're a brand name. People would
But
never.
I mean,
Yeah.
Meyer has an entire aisle of craft beer, and most of it's Michigan craft beer,
Yeah.
and it's not even enough space. There's so many more different six packs that could go on those shelves, and it's tough, you know. And if your beer doesn't sell on that shelf, well, they're not going to get more from you. So you got to be pretty sure you're going to have a hit on your hands to even try that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. You go to Horrocks and they have that whole section. I mean, it's almost all just Michigan beer, but you just see it kind of switching out, rotating, and
Yeah.
you know, you see the stuff that sells all the time and it's always there.
Yeah.
But then you see the other smaller ones just kind of fizzle out.
Yep.
And for the most part, craft beer is different than the macro beers as far as like the macro beers, people have extreme brand loyalty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which they had to do because their beers basically all taste exactly the same.
Right.
To me,
Yeah.
anyway. And craft beer drinkers tend to not want to stick with one thing for very long. It's always trying to branch out and try something new.
Right.
So for a consumer, it's extremely exciting.
Right.
time.
Right. Yeah. Like I had this beer before you did, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it I've seen is also potentially misinformation. People want to support local. They want to support independent. You know, now there's independent labels you can find on your beer bottles. So people think, well, that looks craft. It must be a craft beer. And there's a little misconception as far as that's concerned. So I know that we've definitely had the Brewers Association made it a note where they want to make sure that people know you are buying an independent product, because especially small business owners, that's important to us to support fellow small businesses. And sometimes you see a tap handle and it looks really crafty, and then you get it and it's a beer. It's still the same thing, but a lot of them go to the same spot, the same place, the same few entities. So it's nice to keep
There's
it.
a lot of
keep it
crafty
local.
beer out there that is actually made by one of the big multinational conglomerates.
Like Sam Adams is technically a microbrew, right?
Well, they're still independent. Yeah.
Still independent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they're huge.
good for them. Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of the mid-tier beer companies get bought by
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anheuser-Busch and InBev, and then
Yep.
And I think and that's something the Brewers Association has seemed to trying to curb that
Yeah.
somewhat, but also at the same time, like I don't know, I like to think, if Anheuser-Busch came in and offered us,
Right.
like $4 billion for the brewery, I'd have a pretty hard time
Yeah.
saying no.
I'd say no to
I like
that.
to think that I'd be like, screw you, no.
right,
And it's also kind of a sign of respect, because they obviously respect the product enough to go in and want to be a part of it. So that's something that
Yeah.
it's definitely a good payout for.
Or be scared enough of it to buy it and shut it down,
Yeah.
which has happened too.
So there's a lot of craft beer in Michigan, and other places aren't as lucky as we are. Do you
Yeah.
think it's kind of like the hub for craft beer, or where is that?
I mean, around here,
I don't think it used to be a hub for this area of the country. I think more, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, it's way more widespread.
Yeah.
And so you still have spots where there's like where it really started, like in California and Oregon and Washington and Colorado.
Yeah.
And then Michigan, thanks to Larry Bell, Michigan was one of the early ones to come in, and he pioneered the way for us to do what we do. I think Michigan, we're different from the rest of the country in that even though we're on 2 peninsulas, we may as well be on an island. So we don't tend to look, as far as beer styles go, that's one thing that's always exciting when we get to travel and like go to the craft brewers conference and see some of the other styles, and we see a lot of times you can see trends happening before they get to Michigan. But for the most part, I guess the island thing I'm talking about, we're kind of trend-wise, we're behind almost every trend. So when you see like the New England style IPAs, the juicy hazy IPAs, and now the brute IPAs, and
Sours.
yeah, a lot of those, most of those beer styles start and are flourishing somewhere else before we necessarily notice. I'm not saying there's no innovation going on in Michigan.
Right.
There's definitely a ton of it. Like, I think Founders nailed it when they made the Session IPA, when they made their all day IPA. Like that was
biggest seller now.
Yeah, so that was something that I consider to be innovative as far as beer goes. I'm not saying it doesn't happen,
Right.
but I think it really happens all over this country, and not just in this country now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great breweries in Canada. There have been for a long time. A lot of great Mexican breweries, and Central and South America. The craft beer game is just getting stronger and stronger everywhere, and in places in the U.S. that used to not have it because of restrictive laws are opening up.
Right.
Starting to see a lot more craft beer being made in Georgia. And
Mississippi, places like that.
yeah, and people making fantastic beer
Yeah.
there too.
Michigan's still number 4 in terms of total number of breweries, at least last year. So east of the Mississippi, we're killing it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Indiana's blowing up. Ohio's got a lot of breweries coming.
It seems like Ohio used to have almost no breweries, and now they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Kentucky's blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one thing I noticed about Michigan is that we celebrate seasons. So with beer, especially a lot of the beer styles, it comes with seasonality. That we're able to celebrate certain seasons. We have great access to great water. You know, agriculturally, I think that we have a state that fundamentally is built for beer. I mean, we love the beer. You know, we like to sit out in the cold and drink beer for some reason. I don't know why. We love to do it. But I noticed that Michigan is a perfect hub for beer drinkers as a whole, because we also celebrate crafts. We like especially in Southwest Michigan, it's a lot of art, a lot of craft. So it's kind of again the reciprocation.
Yeah. There's something about the people. Oh, sorry, Tim.
No,
There's something
no,
about the people around here that, thanks to them, like when Larry Bell first started making Oberon, and he struggled for a little while, but once it took off, people really took to it, and they were willing to try new stuff.
I think that's one of the reasons that we're kind of an island too. Is I think as not that we're speaking for all Michiganders, but as Michiganders, we want to drink something from Michigan.
Yeah.
And so that's part of how we get this little. We insulate ourselves at times too, but at the same time we're just promoting making better and better beer here.
I think the one thing that I'm definitely seeing as a trend is that the average consumer in Michigan is also finding a general guideline as far as like good beer versus bad beer, because I'm not gonna say what breweries, but there are some breweries that don't make the best beer all the time, and I think the consumers are starting to find that out, and I think Michigan is getting better at finding good beer versus bad beer.
Yeah.
I know we certainly have been trying to increase our quality because of that trend. So it's
Everybody's pushing each other
Yeah.
to do better.
Yeah.
Well, we're all. I think there's a few breweries that aren't. They're the ones who seem to be more in it just for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a way to supplement or make more profit. But for most of us in the industry, it's all about just constantly trying to improve, constantly trying to do things better. Like Larry, we keep talking about Bell's. Bell's has been big for a long time. They could have just sat back and been like, "This is it." No, they keep trying to improve and improve the way they operate, improve the space in which they operate, and
We have regulars that come in like, man, I remember when Bell's first opened, they were not making the best beer, and they've just and that's part of the reason why Bell's has become so successful is because they put quality first, and they just started to make things better.
Yeah.
and Founders really doing a lot of
a
the
lot of
same
that stuff,
thing.
putting quality first.
And
because-
Dark Horse.
Yeah, everybody is really starting to do
Well, in
it
general,
because-
the quality of Michigan beer is just getting better and better.
Mhm.
Even just anecdotally from beer festivals, like 10 years ago, I had a lot more mediocre beer, but there's so much good beer now when you go to these beer festivals. Really exciting new stuff and high quality stuff. So
Well, I mean, it's kind of got to be high quality because, like you guys said, like if you don't, you're gonna fade out, and because people are gonna stop buying your beer because it's just kind of meh.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear because they have great beer.
And as a brewer, it takes a lot of courage because you put your beer out there for everybody to judge. So, you know, you want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward and make sure you've done all your due diligence to make it the best representation.
Yeah, I know that Michigan as a whole has a good reputation for beer because we have an aunt and uncle that live in Alabama, and they kind of had a list.
Yeah.
And they came up here in October. They're like, all right, we want to go to Founders. We want to go here, and because they have some of their beers down there, and they're really big into beer, and it's just pretty cool to hear that someone from that far away say, hey, there's these specific places I want to go because I know Michigan has good beer.
Yeah,
Good to hear.
that's also something exciting about having New Holland come into town. Is that New Holland has does a lot in distribution, and they cover a lot of area, and a lot of people know New Holland, and so that's a reason for more people in the area to come to Battle Creek to drink beer because it's something they know, and then that there's going to be another brewery right around the corner from there is going to be huge, and just bring more people. We just wish they were closer to us.
Yeah.
So you guys mentioned like some of the innovation with the different type of style beers. What are some examples of different style beers that you guys do here, and like what are some of your favorite styles of beer that you guys do?
Well, especially when we started, it's always about a lot of people say Territorial is a German brewery. No, we're not a German style brewery. We always say we're German inspired. We're really only authentic. We're not authentically German. We're only authentically us.
Yeah.
And so at first innovation was just taking these styles and basically making them the way we want them to be. Just basically Charles and I, and that's how we started. And then after that, it became more of a, we've never brewed this style of beer before. Let's try that, and then try to make something that's somewhat conforms to a specific style, and then playing with that and making something different from it. We love trying to resurrect historic beer styles that are basically extinct, which has happened with a lot of beer styles, in the craft beer industry in Michigan, resurrected. Goza was almost extinct. Berliner Weisse was almost extinct as far as some of the beer styles we do. But
we made that Lichtenheiner.
We made a Lichtenheiner
And won a gold medal with it at a beer competition.
in the historic beer category.
Yeah, in the historic beer category.
What kind of beer is that?
So that's a smoky sour wheat ale, and
People describe it as bacon lemonade.
Yeah, bacon lemonade.
Yeah.
and it's a beer style we don't. When we made it, we're like, we have no idea if this actually tastes like a Lichtenheiner.
Right, because who's ever actually had a Lichtenheiner?
We've never actually had one.
But and it's not a big seller out of our tap room just because it is so weird. But I think we drank a lot of it.
We definitely drank a lot. We enjoyed it.
Yeah. Call it like smoky parfait. It was delightful. It's a great breakfast beer.
Whenever we do something new and different, that's usually the beer that we drink the most of, because it's something new and exciting, especially if you nail exactly what you were going for, whether or not it's true to any style.
Well, I think the thing that I find as far as beer styles that we make, the thing that I find most interesting is being able to brew the beers that every brewery is like, yeah, this is too hard to make. You can't make this. And just trying to see if we can get it to work. Like the BC Light, we tried 3 times before we were like, let's go ahead and submit this and see if we can win something for it. And we ended up winning a gold medal for it. Completely surprising. Even like, I remember the day when we moved that beer into the bright tank to actually start carbonating it. Tim and I put it in a cup and drank it, and both of our eyes lit up. We're like, oh crap, we just made this beer. And not only has that been like a good beer,
Being
for
super
us to drink,
excited for a light American lager. It was bizarre. It still is to me.
I mean, there's still a lot of bigger breweries than us that won't touch that style just because there's a lot that it's hard to control and but yeah. I mean,
and we'll never make it at a price point of the macro breweries.
Right.
It's expensive for us to make it.
But that's a beer style that like we didn't know how the public was going to receive it. We liked drinking it, and we kind of made it as like, this will be our lunchtime beer, so we don't have to drink the other beers.
Yeah.
A little more mild.
Yeah. But then everybody else was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And
Yeah.
and so then that's become what was like our number 2 seller. It was our number 1 for.
It was our number 1 for a little while.
Yeah.
Once when we won the World Beer Cup Gold, so we were the only craft brewer to ever win that.
Yeah, in that category, yeah.
And that was a beer that Charles was talking about, the macro breweries making their crafty beers.
Right.
And that was kind of our way of making fun of that. Like we brewed that beer first as kind of a joke.
It was a stunt almost.
It was a stunt. We brewed it. It's an extremely difficult beer to produce. So part of it was for the challenge of it, but part of it was also to be like, well, the macro brewers are making their crafty beers. Well, let's make a
Macro beer.
yeah. Let's take
craft
their
beer.
number 1 selling style
Yeah.
and try to do our take on it.
Let's make honest to God light beer. You know, show that it can be done.
And then we ended up being the only craft brewer to ever win the World Beer Cup Gold for light lager.
That's amazing. Right here in Battle Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah, Springfield.
Springfield.
Yeah, Battle Creek Metropolitan Statistical Area. But we are very proud to be in Springfield.
Gotcha.
So you guys have said won a gold medal twice. What does that do? Like, what's the process behind that, and what does that really mean?
Well, it depends on the
It's more or less
competition.
just being able to say we have bragging rights for
Yeah.
our style. We anytime we've sent in beers many times and have gotten nothing back.
Right.
Matter of fact, this at GABF this last year, Great American Beer Festival, we sent stuff in, hoping that we win something. But I mean, it's always a crapshoot.
The competitions are definitely crapshoots. There's
Yeah.
so many entries, especially now. So these competitions are getting harder and harder and harder to win a medal. And at the same time, it's the judges are doing their best job to be as
Right.
objective as possible, but tasting beer is
Right.
still going to be largely subjective.
Yeah. And the judges are highly trained and certified, so I do respect their opinions. But yeah, you know, when you're tasting 70, 80, 250 different beers in a single style, you know.
Yeah, but at the same time, we fully recognize that just because we won the World Beer Cup Gold for a BC Light, it doesn't really mean that it's the best light beer in the world for everybody. But we can actually say it's the best light beer in the world, so we're going to scream it from the rooftop.
Sure.
And probably we find that completely hilarious that we made that beer.
I think the thing that really kind of is shocking to me is that with the World Beer Cup, 75% of the judges are from outside of the United States. So that means that people from outside of the United States are saying, "Hey, Battle Creek's making pretty damn good light lagers." Springfield, yeah. Calhoun County, and I think that was really shocking. Is that people internationally were saying that beer's good. So yeah, that's.
So what are some helpful tools? I know you guys said you guys have been pretty resourceful by using, vineyard stuff to distill your beer, but what other things have been helpful in your business?
I don't know. I got to think about that one.
Like
Our palates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that we think it's helpful. That might not be. But definitely the huge help, and Dan was touching on it earlier, is the help from other breweries.
yeah.
Like a lot of the people at Dark Horse were extremely helpful to us. We had a lot of help from brewers from Arcadia, and when we first opened, a lot of our customers that were coming in, they really expected, and some of them I think even really wanted us to have this like kind of vicious rivalry with Arcadia, and we're like, we don't have any disrespect or any negative feelings towards Arcadia. We have a lot of friends who still work at Arcadia.
It was some of the first craft beer you and I both ever drank, way back when.
But they were extremely helpful to us. So many other breweries, not just in the county or in the state of Michigan, but breweries from all over. We still get a tremendous amount of help. Our brewed IPL that we have on right now got a tremendous amount of help from a friend of ours in Seattle at Lucky Envelope Brewing Company. Barry Chan helped us tremendously with that beer style, and he was helped by Kim Sturdivant, who actually created that style of beer. And so there's this constant sharing.
Growing as a community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like collaboration and contribution above competition.
Yeah, one great thing about the Michigan Brewers Guild is that with the 4 beer festivals they put on throughout the year in different parts of the state and with their conference, brewers and brewery owners and people that work at breweries, they get together throughout the year. They get to know each other. And when brewers get together, they talk about beer, and there's just so much knowledge shared there. And hardly ever is anybody saying, no, I don't want to tell you that, or screw you, I don't like you, I'm not going to tell you about,
It does happen.
It does
We're
happen,
jerks,
but-
but most people aren't that way.
Yeah, I mean, 99%. People are happy to share, to collaborate, share ideas. So
We were just Dan and I were just talking this morning. Dan's working really hard to foster our homebrew club that we will host here, and had some questions. We're like, well, let's call up our friends at what we were talking about, Final Gravity Brewing Company. They're really good friends of ours, and because they've been doing it, we can call them and talk to them, and they'll just basically open up to us. This is what we've done that works. This is what doesn't work.
yeah,
And we have lots of friends who've asked us the same stuff, and we're always. That's why we were so excited when the LB Malleable guys started getting going. That we were just so excited to finally to have another new brewery that we could at least try and do something of paying it forward for what a lot of people had done with us when we were starting out.
yeah,
We get a lot of help from our customers as well too.
Mhm.
Volunteering for any event we're putting on.
Yeah.
We have guys that we serve beer for working class guys that work either at Denso or at the Fort or whatever. So we get a lot of guys that are willing to help out in any way possible. We've had guys that just said, "Hey, you need to weld a part." They'll come over here and weld it for us for free. We've had a lot of help from our customers. I think that's the greatest resource, because I think when it comes to a brewery, people realize that it's not just us doing it. It is a community coming together and making sure that this happens. And yeah, so we get a lot of help from definitely customers.
That's
oh, yeah.
one of my the favorite things I had learned from starting Territorial Brewing Company with Charles is Tom Hennessy taught us about make sure you're fostering a sense of ownership among your employees. And so that was part of our business plan, part of what we were trying to do. And then we never foresaw that we'd have customers that would have as much of a sense of ownership in the company.
Yeah.
That absolutely feel like they are a part of it. They're extremely
Yeah.
important to it.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
I think that's amazing, that community, and that's kind of like what we've been stressing lately, is like being that community, and that's the only thing that will change what you want in your community. If you don't like it, only the people inside it can do something about it.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Yeah.
Yep. So we like to end on 2 questions.
Sure.
We ask everybody these, and they're the same 2 questions. So first, the first one was a big one for us. What was one of your biggest setbacks or failures that led to your success?
It is a tough one.
I'm gonna let you answer that.
I think we all getting asked this.
Either or.
It could be collective, it could be individually.
And then the second one is, what advice would you have for someone that's either starting their own business, or like you guys, working 2 jobs or quitting your own job to get in a different position, not knowing what the future lies, but you took that leap of faith.
That one I can answer a little bit easier. Definitely, some of the best rewards in life come with taking risk. And whenever, like, Dan took a risk by quitting his job at the bank to start brewing at a fledgling brewery, they're not established. Charles and I took a risk when we quit our jobs to start working at running a brewery that we don't make any money at. So reward comes a lot of times with taking a risk and actually jumping in and being fully committed to it. But at the same time, like, you're never alone. Right. And there's so many, especially like this, what this community is, and like, you guys are a big part of it. What's going on, especially in downtown Battle Creek, just this sense of community of business owners. So even if it's not somebody that's in your exact industry that you're doing, reach out to your community. There's people who can give you tremendous advice and also just tremendous support. Sometimes it's just as simple as somebody to go and complain about something too.
Yeah.
And somebody to have a sympathetic ear who's possibly been in the same situation and dealt with it.
I guess a setback that, first springs to mind is before we opened, it took us longer to open than we thought it would,
Way
which
longer.
happens with a lot of breweries and other businesses too.
Right.
As I'm sure you know. So, but that did teach me about patience, and it just sometimes there's nothing you can do, and it's just going to take a while.
Yeah.
And you have to replan when you're planning to do things, how you're going to do things, and you have to be flexible and have patience with it. Eventually, stuff does happen. So, but you can't just snap your fingers and make it happen. So,
Well, kind of similar to that, like when we were down at the other building brewing along the same space as the kitchen, we looked at a lot of different possibilities of moving out of there and either moving downtown, and a lot of people wanted to help us out with allowing us to make more beer and make it just better for us. And I think we just learned the patience of just waiting for a more opportune moment, and that's when we found this building where we're able to expand. We actually own this building, so we're able to do a lot more. And there's no way to know if any of those other options that we had in the past would have actually worked out for us, if they would have been better than this, or if they would have been worse. But I think we're pretty happy with our current situation and being in this building and the ability to grow, that the patience kind of got us to this point. So, kind of patience is really...
And patience goes along with the kind of beers that we brew.
Yeah.
Lagers take a lot more patience.
And one thing you tell me all the time is, like, trust yourself. If you don't know the answer right now, you'll definitely know it later. Whether you have to fail to learn that answer or to learn that, I think a lot of people just say no right off the bat, and then you never learn from failure. So you got to fail in order to learn. So.
yeah.
I like that.
I wouldn't say anything that I've had is, I don't know, failure is such a hard word to embrace. Setback is what I'll, and I don't consider it a negative really. It was prior to working here, I was working 4 jobs. I was making pretty good money doing everything, but I had no time for any of my personal life at all. So for me, I had to take stock in what was really important to me. And I was fortunate enough to get this opportunity here and able to consolidate a lot of the things that I love doing, whether it be just brewing beer, talking about beer, being a representative. So for me, it was more or less just kind of trying to check my own priorities in life. You just have to just trust in your decision and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to do. And it's been great. We're figuring everything out, but I definitely not a failure, because I feel like failure is so definite. So for me, it's an ongoing thing, and this is just another part of enriching my life and making it worthwhile every day. So
Yeah, you failed upward.
failed upward. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Mistakes are not failures.
There we go. And then, do you guys have anything coming up or any social media you guys want to plug before we're done?
Well,
We got a few things coming up pretty soon. Next Thursday, we're Serial City Athletics, who does a lot of events in around Battle Creek. They do the Battle Creek Half Marathon, which starts and stops at Territorial Brewing Company, and Tinson Post 5K. They just did that. That was. I didn't get to go see it, but that looked like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
They are taking over our bingo that we do on Thursday nights, this coming Thursday. So there'll be prizes along the lines of free registrations for some of the events, Serial City Athletics merchandise. So they're taking over our bingo for that Thursday. So that's definitely something to come
should be
in
a fun night.
and have a lot of fun with. Free to play bingo, win some fabulous, amazing Serial City Athletics prizes, and a couple territorial ones too.
Yeah, we're doing Kalamazoo Beer Week. We're having an event at the Green Top Tavern in Kalamazoo on Thursday the 17th, I believe, where we'll take over 3 of their taps, and they're going to do grilled cheese pairings with our beer.
Okay. Where's that at again?
At the Green Top Tavern in Kalamazoo. So, We're happy to have our own small part of Kalamazoo Beer Week over there.
And we're also taking bingo there too.
Yeah, we're doing bingo there.
We're
too.
doing our bingo on the road then. And we do trivia every Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we've got
free to play.
the most lit trivia night in town.
All right.
And we got Penetrator Doppelbock coming out next week.
That's right. Yeah.
And it is great.
It's delicious.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys for letting us come into your space here and talk about beer that you guys love. I love beer. You do too.
Definitely.
So we hope to have a follow up with you guys maybe a little bit down the road. And
Sure.
Yeah.
just thanks for letting us stop by and talk about beer.
You got it.
Anytime.
Cheers. Yeah.
All right. So that is going to be it today for Drinking with Los Hermanos. We've had a good time here today. Hope you have a good time watching and listening.
If
And
you haven't had Territorial Brewing, you definitely want some.
come down and get some. So I think that's it for tonight. So everyone have a good night, and as always, take it easy.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.